Welcome back. As a part of this lecture, we'll understand what are the execution modes available in Spark. Let us say, hey, you have completed writing the code in Spark. So what will you do with that next? Very simple, right? Either will execute that or run your application. After completing the writing of your code, one of the important choice you have to make is choosing an execution mode. What is execution mode? Execution mode determines where the resources are physically located when you go to run your application. Through execution mode, you will determine where your physical resources need to be located. We have three execution modes in Spark currently. Cluster mode is one of the execution mode. Client mode is the next one, and we do have local mode. We'll see them one by one. Cluster mode is one of the prominently, or you will end up using this mode as a part of your project whenever you want to run your Spark application. In the cluster mode, what we do is, as a user, he or she submits either precompiled jar file or Python or R script to the cluster managers. It can be Apache Mesos, Hadoop Yarn, or Kubernetes, depending upon the project you are in. User submits the code to the cluster manager. Then what happens is, cluster manager launches the Spark driver process on a worker node within the cluster. It also launches the executor process within the cluster. So that way, since the cluster manager has launched the Spark driver process and also the executors within the cluster manager is responsible for maintaining both the Spark driver process and also executor processes. Moving on to the next mode, in the client mode, it is almost same as that of the cluster mode, except that Spark driver remains on the client machine which has submitted the Spark application. That means the client machine is the one which is responsible for maintaining the Spark driver process, because the Spark driver process is there in the client machine only. That is the reason it is responsible for maintaining the Spark driver process. On the other hand, the cluster manager, it can be Apache Mesos or Yarn, depending upon your project. The cluster manager is responsible for maintaining the executor processes. That is how the client mode differs from the cluster mode. Moving on to the next mode, the local mode is very different from both the cluster mode and the client mode. Why do I say so? Because in the local mode, entire Spark application would be run on the single machine. Then how does it achieve the parallelism? It achieves the parallelism through threads. So this is one of the important mode if you are learning the Spark, as we are doing as a part of this course, or if you want to test your application, or if you want to experiment with your development. Wonderful. We have seen three important execution modes: cluster, client, and local mode as a part of this lecture. Thank you.